So I was at the DMV not long ago because apparently digital transformation just means we put a QR code on the wall, but you still have to sit in this plastic chair until your soul leaves your body. The woman behind the glass, who definitely has not smiled since King Tut was found, tells me I need Form 402B or she can't help me. So I ask, okay, what is 402B? What does it actually do? She looks at me like I just asked her to explain the ending of Inception and goes, it's the rule. At that moment, I didn't get mad. I didn't argue. I just stared at her because my brain instantly went into Gen X mode. Can I take this out to the parking lot with a Sharpie and a Starbucks napkin and my high school art skills and forge it? That's our generation in one scene. You don't see a rule and think, oh, good, safety. We see a rule and think, this was invented by an idiot. And I bet I can bypass it with basic office supplies. Welcome to Gen X Unfiltered. I'm Rob. And today we're talking about why Gen X is unmanageable. People love to act like Gen X is chronically pissed off. Why don't you trust the experts? Why can't you just follow the process? Why do you question everything? Well, because every time we did trust the process blew up in our faces and then sent us a survey asking how satisfied we were with the explosion. We grew up in this weird gap. Too old to be coddled, too young to have pensions. We were beta testers for every bad idea. Parenting, food education, corporate culture, you name it. We were the lab rats. So no, we are not team players. We're the ones in the corner going, has anyone checked to see if this thing is actually plugged in before we sacrifice an entire weekend trying to fix it? This isn't just, we were latchkey kids and now we're salty. This is, here are the receipts. Here is how it shows up at work, in life, and here's why we're not the ones who should be apologizing. If you want to know why we don't trust the man, let's start at the home field. We weren't raised, we were deployed. They call us the latchkey generation, like we were sad little orphans in a Dickens novel. We weren't. We were the government unregulated social experiment run by parents who thought heavy metal lyrics were more dangerous than leaving a 9-year-old in charge of a toaster oven, a box of matches, and a younger sibling who ate crayons. We came home to silence, not cell phones, no share your location, no check-ins, just the hum of the fridge and the understanding that if you choked on a grape, you were becoming part of the carpet. That silence did something to us. You learned very fast, nobody's coming. Not mom, not dad, and not the authorities. The people in charge are not actually in charge. They're at work, listening to some guy named Dennis talk about synergy. And the discipline? Forget gentle parenting. Our parents outsourced their authority to every institution that they could think of, up to and including the Almighty. It was a triple threat of terror designed to keep us paralyzed. First, you had the state threats. If you don't behave, the cops will come. If you don't eat your peas, CPS will take you away. Keep it up and you're going to end up in a group home. But the ultimate management threat? The fear of God himself. We were told that the creator of the universe, the guy running the galaxies, was spending his Tuesday afternoons monitoring our vocabulary. We were convinced that if we let a bad word slip while we were trying to unjam the VCR, we weren't just grounded, we were headed for eternal fire. God was basically the ultimate narc. We grew up thinking that there's a white van idling around the corner 24/7, staffed with cops, social workers, and a nun with a ruler, all overseen by a vengeful deity just waiting to drag us off if we didn't do the dishes. So we got this mixed message. The system is terrifying, and God is watching your every move. But also, no one is noticing that you're currently microwaving a Pop Tart in its foil just to watch the sparks fly. And that right there is the seed of the Gen X authority allergy. They weaponize the law, they weaponize the state, and they weaponize the gospel to scare us. And then the system never actually showed up when it mattered. We realized the all-seeing eye was probably just as distracted as our parents were at the neighborhood block party. So let's talk the receipts, because this isn't just a vibe, this is a track record. Exhibit A, the food pyramid. We were literally told by doctors, teachers, posters in the damn cafeteria, eat up to 11 servings of bread a day. That's not nutrition. That's how you fatten up a duck at the park. But back then, that was science. That was the experts. And now half of us can't look at a bagel without our joints swelling up. Exhibit B, dare. They dragged our asses into the gym, sat us on cold metal bleachers, and explained every drug in excruciating detail. What it's called, what it does, how much it costs, and where people get it. That wasn't prevention. That was a product catalog. It didn't stop anyone from doing drugs. It just made sure we knew what the street value was. Exhibit C, the Challenger. We watched that space shuttle disintegrate in real time in our classrooms because a bunch of adults in suits decided that a rubber O-ring should be fine in the cold. The phrase, "it should be fine," has been anxiety trigger ever since. Exhibit D, corporate loyalty. We watched the Sears catalog, the Bible of American consumerism, just disappear. We watched our dads get the gold watch and the pink slip in the same week after 30 years of loyalty. Trust the company, work your way up, follow the rules, and you will be rewarded. Cool story. Didn't happen. By the time we hit our 20s, trust wasn't gently eroded. It had been hit with a wrecking ball, salted, and then turned into a parking lot. So when somebody says, trust the process, Gen X is like, sure, first show me the failure mode, the fine print, and who cashes out with this inevitably collapses. Now, fast forward to 2026, you're at work, the CEO, who you've never met in person, by the way, sent out this video. We're not just a company, we're a family. Gen X, we are going to emotionally manipulate you into working nights and weekends. We're going to gaslight you when you burn out. And then we're going to lay you off on Tuesday at 4:59 via a very generic email. Please bring your laptop to HR. You want to know why Gen X is unmanageable at work? Because we can hear the subtext now. We've lived through too much shit to fall for the mission statement. We don't want ping pong tables. We want a very clear job description. working Wi-Fi, and the ability to leave at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then there's the experts. We're living in an era of professional advice givers. I saw a life coach the other day online, 24 years old, charging $500 just to teach people how to optimize their morning sunlight. Listen, I've been running on coffee, collective trauma, and 3 hours of sleep since midnight premiere of The Matrix. The sun is not my main issue. My issue is that my mattress sounds like a bowl of Rice Krispies every time I roll over. We've got consultants for everything now. Breathing, tidying, boundary setting. Shit our generation used to call Tuesday. So when someone tries to manage us or coach us or guide our journey, we're not impressed by your certificate. We're just waiting to see if you're just another O-ring about to fail. Until then, we will absolutely fix ourselves with a butter knife, duct tape, and a YouTube tutorial of another Gen Xer making it in his garage. Now, let's be honest with ourselves for a second. This authority allergy, it's a feature, but it's also a bug. It makes us great in a crisis. Zombie apocalypse? You want Gen X in charge. We're the ones who can hotwire a car, boil water on a camp stove, and build a shelter out of a 1993 jogging stroller and some zip ties. We will MacGyver the shit out of that and get it done. But drop us into a PTA meeting or HOA board or corporate strategy session, and we're a frickin' nightmare. Because we treat every rule like it's a suggestion, every boundary like it's a personal assault, every mandatory meeting like it's a war crime. Sometimes the person saying, hey, you actually have to fill out this form isn't the man. It's the one poor soul trying to keep the bridge from collapsing while we're making fun of the font choices. Our default setting is you're probably full of it. That protects us from scams, bad leaders, and dumb trends. But it can also keep us stuck, bitter, and impossible to collaborate with. We're allergic to authority, even when the person is actually trying to help us. So what do we do with all this? Well, we don't suddenly become rule-following optimists because that shit ain't happening. Nobody wants to see Gen X doing trust falls in a hotel conference room. So here's the move. First, we have to separate the man from the human just doing their job. That DMV lady, she's not the architect of oppression. She's just trying to get through the day without crying in the break room. We don't have to respect the system to be decent to the person stuck inside of it. And second, we have to ask the question before we go full rebellion mode on these people. Is this stupid or is it safety? If the rule is wear your hard hat on the construction site, well, that's not the man, that's gravity. If the rule is fill out this 402B form so we can lose it and blame you, okay, now we're in Gen X territory. Third, we use our side eye as a filter, not for full body rejection. Our superpower is spotting bullshit early. Instead of just burning everything down, we can be the ones who say, this part is garbage, this part might work, and here's how to make it not blow up. That's leadership, by the way. We just don't call it that because leadership sounds like a seminar with cold sandwiches. If you treat every mandatory meeting like a subpoena, You are absolutely my people. If this called you out just a little bit, pay the tax. One like, one comment. Tell me the exact moment you realized the man had no idea what he was doing. And if this made you feel uncomfortably seen, that's your cue to subscribe. So, what do we actually do with all this information? Well, we keep the bullshit detector, we retire the automatic hell no, we question everything, and then occasionally let something be just a little bit useful. I've got to go figure out why my knee's clicking like a glow stick every time I stand up. So I'll see you in the next one.